Thank you all for making it today. My name is Hussein Fawaz and I teach math, and I've been teaching math here at Oxnard College for the past 13, 14, I lost track, years, okay? I look at teaching as something I enjoy doing every day when I wake up. That's what I look forward to, besides my family and my kids, obviously. I want to give you a little bit of background. What happened to my first page? Let me go back. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Okay, so before we talk about the flow chart, which I believe some of you had some questions on math 32 and 33 versus math 14, I'll talk a little bit about that. Since math 32 and math 33 it's a new course that we're starting this semester for the first time ever. So I'll explain a little bit about that. But I want to give you a little bit of my background. I went to CSUN, I graduated in math. My major initially was computer science, computer programming, did that for 2 years. Any of your computer programming majors? Okay, very good. I really loved the programming aspect of it and the logic behind it. But after 2 years, I figured out this is not for me. I didn't envision myself sitting in front of a computer endless hours in the middle of the night till 3 a.m. trying to figure out coding, if you know what I'm talking about. Once you write your program, does it always work? No. You got to go back and fix all the syntax error, the little detail, right? The comma, the semicolon, right? And you got to learn your, the language itself, right? So anyway, so since I was okay at math, I wouldn't say I was the greatest student in math, but I was okay and I enjoyed problem solving. So I decided to continue that path. Right? When I got my bachelor's degree, I was fortunate enough there was a program at the time at CSUN where they allowed students to teach like a lower level math class. And that's where I got my feet wet. Let's try it. Let's give it a try. Because I had no idea what I was going to do with math. What can you do with math besides teaching? Right? It really depends, right? Very limited. And I tried it, and I got into the classroom, and for me, it was almost like a natural thing, And that's really the inspiration of what really led me to become a math teacher down the road, many years down the road. Okay, so I didn't grow up in the States. I grew up in Northwest Africa for 17 years. My parents have migrated from the Middle East way back in the early 70s because of the war. War is such a bad thing. It drives people away, it breaks family up, right? So I ended up growing up in Northwest Africa for about 16, 17 years. So I spent most of my childhood in Northwest Africa. If you're a soccer fan, you might know what country it is. Côte d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast. Do you know a player from Ivory Coast? No, he doesn't play anymore, right? Right. I grew up in that country. It's a French-speaking country. And so that was my first language, was French. So coming here was really extremely difficult trying to adjust to all the different things. The language in and of itself, was a huge hurdle I had to overcome. But I was okay at math. It doesn't matter what language you speak, you can always do the math. Isn't that interesting? It's a universal language. Just have to pay attention to the vocabulary and so on and so forth. So I wanted to give you a little bit of background where I come from before we begin the presentation. All right. So let's talk about math 32. There's some confusion. Till this day, I'm sure a lot of students don't understand still the difference between 32, 33, and math 14. It kind of says the same thing, intermediate algebra under each one of them, right? Math 14 is mainly designed for students who are going to be STEM majors. We're going to be taking a lot of math down the road. College algebra, trigonometry, calculus, right? All of these rigorous classes. So it's a very rigorous course, Math 14, intermediate algebra. So the math department highly recommends that if you're going to go that route, you take Math 14. In the past, it didn't matter what major you were, you had to take Math 14. Whether you're a STEM major or a non-STEM major, you had to take it. It's kind of a little unfair for the students who aren't really good at math, who are a liberal study major, or maybe psychology, history, you know. They're not usually very strong at it. But they still have to go through the same rigor as someone who already is good at it. So for this reason, we're trying this for the first time, and we split Math 14 into 32 and 33. So 32 is mainly to target students who are non-STEM majors, so they can get to the stat class. So the statistics is really their main goal, to complete that so they can transfer. Okay? Now, what is 33? That's 32. So 32 is only 3 units if you notice. So a non-STEM major would only take that, and that will qualify them for their AA degree. And then they can move on to stat, take the stat, and then transfer. Okay. Now, if they decide down the road they're going to change their major to a STEM major, instead of making them take intermediate algebra, we make them take the remaining 2 units, which is 33. Math 33, that's what I just that little arrow there. So that way they would have the 5 units package, and then they can move on to 115 and 116 and so on and so forth. Okay. Now, this doesn't mean that if you're a STEM major, you cannot get to 115 that way. You can if you want to. If you notice 14 is too difficult for you and you can't survive in there, you can take it in 2 semesters. You can take 32 and then 1 semester, and then 33 the next semester. So you're doing 14 in 2 semesters. And then you can eventually take 115 and 116 and so on and so forth. Okay, but we don't recommend that. It's doable, but we don't recommend it because we feel like if you go the easy route early on, you're going to struggle down the road. Because these are really hardcore classes that you're going to run into at some point. Okay. All right. So that's really all I wanted to explain the difference between these 2 courses. Any questions for me before we continue here? Are we okay? All right. You need to breathe. Succeeding in math. A lot of formulas. Do you recognize any? I don't recognize any. They're all made up formulas. I equals 1. That's not true. That's a made up formula. Professor Dean initially was expected to be giving this talk. She had a lot of research she did over the summer with some of her transitional math students. And so, time management, as Linda mentioned earlier, it starts right here with your calendar. Did you get one? Time management is the #1 struggle that many students have difficulty determining or figuring out the right equation, the right formula for. It starts right here, having a calendar right in front of you. So we made one for you. Okay, you can take it with you. You can make multiple copies. I'll send an email to Susan and Dr. Bedesale, and they'll have maybe plenty of them printed out, and maybe have them on the desk available for students who come in here, and they can grab one of these. So every time before the beginning of the semester, you already know what your schedule is like. Block it all off in here, right? It's all going in half-hour block. The sleeping time, block it all off from there. If you work, block it all off from there. Whatever is left gives you a good visual of how much time you have for studying. And I think it's important you see it, not just run it all through your head. And when it comes to studying, just in any class, not just math. So whatever you're going to hear is not just going to be so you can be successful in math, but so you can be successful in any other class you take at the college level. Right? You want to make sure you don't cram. That's why you're doing this. Because you want to spread out your studying throughout the week. And you want to do it in small chunks. Like, what happens if you try to do everything the night of? What happens to your brain? Yeah, what happens if you sit for 5 straight hours trying to do one thing? Especially math. 5 straight hours. I do not recommend that. Wear a helmet next time you do that. You're going to hurt yourself. Okay. Now, before we get into some of the study skills, which some of you, probably already heard of before, but never maybe applied yet, and let's talk about the difference between high school and college. Okay. A lot of you were in high school not too long ago. When you take intermediate algebra at a college level, this is how many hours you actually do the course. You have a lot of time to do the class, because this is about 9 months long, so you have 180 hours. Okay, and maybe if you just allocate in high school, if you just allocate 1 hour of study time, maybe that was enough to get you through. Then you come to college, and because of the placement test that we have, maybe you'll place again in intermediate algebra, and a lot of our students actually place lower than intermediate algebra. And when they do get to the intermediate algebra level, though, we notice there's still a huge struggle. Why? If you were doing so well in high school, why is it that you're still struggling if it's the same content, right? You only have that many hours in college to do what you did in 1 year. It's very compact. It goes very fast. Our classes used to be, if it's a 5-unit class, way back in the days, they used to be daily classes, like 15-minute long, so you only learn in small chunks. Now we've switched everything to block schedule. It's 2.5 hour long. That's a lot of information to absorb in one sitting. I feel for you. I mean, being the teacher and seeing you sitting there taking notes for 2 hours and trying to learn everything we're trying to give you. Okay? So that in and of itself is a huge difference, right? It's overwhelming. And also it has to do with time management, because we're not trained enough to manage our time. We don't know how to deal with that kind of stuff. So you do 1 section per day, versus in college, you do 2 to 3 sections in a single class. The class structure, in high school, your teacher might allow you to start homework in the classroom. They might allow that, that's true. But in college, you never have that luxury, right? You have to wait till you go home, or maybe when you meet with your friends in the library later on, maybe 2 days down the road to start your homework assignment, right? Yeah, traditional class is mostly lecture. What's lecture? Teacher is talking, students what? Listening, then wandering around, right? Dozing off after that, right? We lose students after 20 minutes. Research have shown that. That's true. Our attention span goes way down after 20 minutes. In some of the lower classes, if I ever had to teach those, what I do is after I lecture for 15, 20 minutes, and this is how they used to make us do this at CSUN. Our director would actually make sure we only lecture for 15 minutes, and then put everybody in groups of 3 or 4, and then group work activity. Because they know after 15 minutes, they're not going to capture anything. So might as well, let's practice what we just learned, so that when you get that hands-on, and when you go home, you're better ready to do the homework, to tackle the homework. Okay? But it's hard to do this with a high-level math classes, because we have so much to cover. We can't have group work in every math class. In high school, you might have a lot of small quizzes and small tests. In college, you don't have that. You have to wait till you do 1 chapter or 2 chapters at a time, and oh, we have a midterm. It's a lot of information. Okay? And so it seems harder. There's a lot of information. Right? So that's some of the facts to differentiate between high school versus college. Oh, I'm taking good notes, right? Any of you has a good strategy about taking good notes? What's a good strategy of note taking? Highlighter. Yay. Using colors, right? If you don't have colors, what else can you do? Underline, very good. Like you put little box, draw a little box around there. Why is that helpful? Why is that a helpful tip? Because when you read your notes later, your eyes catches those little things, the color, the box, the circle, right? Something must have been important, that's why you circled it, right? You heard that, so taking good notes is really important. I don't know if any of you knew of this one. Rewriting your notes within 24 hours. A lot of students would go, I don't have time for that. I mean, yeah, it's understandable. Not everybody has time for that. But research has shown if you can rewrite your notes and go over your notes within 24 hours, your retention will be about 60% of the notes. 60% you'll remember of what you've done in class if you can go over them within 24 hours. Okay. And what's the other thing about rereading your notes or going over your notes? Sometimes you catch mistakes. Or you look at a line and you go, this doesn't make sense. How did I get to this line when that line doesn't really get me there? Sometimes when we write things and we're trying to listen, trying to hear and write at the same time, stop multitasking thing, we miss out on stuff. We maybe write a negative when we're not supposed to, and you wonder where did that negative come from, right? So going over your notes, you can catch mistakes, or maybe you'll find points of confusions and you go, wait, I thought I understood this example, but now I don't. Maybe in class I'll ask tomorrow when I go to class. And let the teacher explain it again. Or maybe I'll talk to you during office hours and then I can explain it again. Okay. When you do your homework, keep a list of travel problems for each homework and during scheduled study time. We do these problems. How many of you do that? Well, be honest, I know some of you do, huh? Really? No. So once you're done with the homework, do you then say to yourself, I'm done studying? Yeah? No, right? When you're done with the homework, you're not really done studying, right? I hope you don't believe that, right? We need that repetition. We need to help our long-term memory to remember down the road, 3 days down the road, 4 days down the road. What did I just learn 4 days ago, right? So how do we enable that long-term memory, right? It's the repetition. We highly recommend in math especially, which is completely different than a political science class, right? The way you study for those classes are completely different. There might be some overlap. But for a math class, we recommend, did you know that for a 3-unit class, how many hours you have to spend outside of class studying versus if you have a 5-unit class, how many hours you need to spend outside of class studying? What's the formula for that? For every hour you spend in class, you're required on the average to spend 2 hours outside of class. So for a 5-unit class, we're expecting you to spend on the average 10 hours outside of class. Some people look at me and go, that's outrageous. 10 hours? Where am I going to find 10 hours in my schedule? Right? So, but if math is one of those subjects that is your least favorite, maybe you're not good at it, then you want to definitely tackle that first, as Linda said. Right? What our weaknesses is what we want to tackle first. Usually we tend to spend on our strengths, spend a lot of time on what we're strong at. We want to do the subject matter that we're good at. Why is that? So we can feel good about ourselves. We don't want to feel depressed when we're tackling something too difficult. Right? We hit a dead-end road and we don't know what to do, so we got frustrated, right? So we tend not to want to do what we struggle with the most. We want to do what we're good at first. But it's actually, in the research, it's actually shown that you should tackle what you're weak at first and spend the most time on that, especially early in the day where you have the most energy, because those kind of subjects require the most mental energy needed. If you spend all your energy on what you love the most, by the time you get to what you hate the most, there's no energy left. You're drained, you're exhausted. My calculus student who came to spoke to me today about homework problems told me, we caught a lot of errors in her homework where she was working it out. And I said, what time did you do this? She said, late at night. It's not uncommon. Most students find that late at night is the only time to do homework. But that's when you're going to make the most mistakes because you're so tired. I mean, there's a limitation to how much abuse we can give to our physically and mentally. We're abusing our brain by trying to just keep it on dragging, and then waiting till the very end to do that. Okay. So there's going to be some tips on how to get around all that. And we already talked about this. Only doing small chunks, 25 minutes, take a little break, 25 minutes, go out, stretch out a little bit, let the blood flow go to your brain again, come back in, sit down, and do 25 more minutes, small chunks, really important. Don't sit down for 5 straight hours or 3 straight hours even. Yeah. Plan your study out for the week, and that's what this is for. Right? Plan it out. Put it down. If you put it down and you never look at it again, you just put it away and you don't follow, you have to be consistent. Okay, consistent. Put in your calendar on your phone where you have a reminder. It reminds you, okay, Monday from 6 to 7, I gotta do math. Study at least 4 to 5 days a week. How many of you actually do your math 4 to 5 days a week? Not a whole lot of people do that. Kudos to you. Yeah. But not a lot of people do that. They think, okay, 1-2 days is enough. I just spend 5 hours today, 5 hours tomorrow, I'm done. Or they just wait till the weekend and do everything on the weekend. That's not a very good study habit. Study groups, that's my favorite. When I went to high school in Northwest Africa, I had this one buddy of mine who always got together and always studied. And we did role playing. One time I would be a teacher, explain the problem to him, and then the next example, he'd be the teacher, explain the problem back to me. It was a revelation. It was enlightening. When you explain a problem to someone, have you tried that? What happens? You learn it better. You retain it better. That's right, and longer. That's right. So this was a revelation for me. When I came here, I continued on doing that. Finding someone I can study with. That was the reason that pushed me to become a tutor when I was in school. Because by tutoring, I was helping a lot of different students, and that was helping me remember the stuff I needed to remember. Okay. So study group is, and I know 3 or 4 of you guys meet here on Friday, because I'm here on Fridays sometimes, and I see you getting together and always studying. It's awesome. Wish everybody could do that. It's amazing how much you can learn from each other. Also, if you're taking the same class together, right? What happens in class? After 20 minutes, you doze off, right? But you're still taking notes, right? Then you look at your notes later, you go, I can do this, but I don't remember that one. Then maybe the person you're studying with might remember that one. Maybe while you were dozing off, that person was paying attention. And then vice versa, all right? But then sometimes both of you may have no idea how to do the problem, so then you ask for help, tutors, office hours, right? Why is it so difficult to get students to come to office hours? I'm still, till this day, trying to find the magical formula to get students to come to my office hours. I mean, I do get students, but not to the point that I would like to see. I told my calculus 1 student today, she was the first one that actually made an appointment with me this semester. She was the first student that actually came to my office hours this semester in Calc 1. In Calc 2, I had a bunch. I think they've learned a lesson in Calc 1, so they know how to tackle that better. And I think those folks coming in Calc 1, coming from college algebra and trigonometry, don't know what their expectation is yet. What is it? Is it because the teacher is frightening? Any ideas? I mean, enlighten me here. Tell me something I don't know. Or what is it? Why is it so scary to go to a teacher? I was scared a little bit, I'm not gonna lie to you, when I was a student. But you know what I did to overcome that? I brought someone with me. I dragged someone with me who was in the same class. Let's go to the teacher's office and ask questions. That way I don't feel like the attention is all on me, right? Because that's what's scary. Oh, what if I say something and then it sounds stupid and the teacher's gonna say I'm stupid, right? that's the kind of negative thought that goes through our head, right? Yeah, we always love to put the negative tape. We always like to do that. There's like that failure tape. Oh, I failed in elementary school, so every time I have a test, it's math anxiety. I'm going to fail, right? We have to replace all that with positive thinking. What's a good positive thinking? I love math. I can do this. Especially for those of you who are struggling with math. It's good to repeat those positive phrases in your head. Okay, this is talking simply about the schedule. So if you read through really quick here. But that's what I was talking about earlier, right? 3 units, 6 hours, 4 units, 8 hours, 5 units, 10 hours, right? Do actually some of these actually sleep 7 or 8 hours? You do? It depends. Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to find 7 or 8 hours in a day. What to do when homework is complete? We'll talk about this also, right? A little repetition there. Going back to problems that you had trouble with, randomly work on those again. Go back to examples in your notes and rework the examples given. Procrastination, right? Why do we like to procrastinate? Probably because we don't like that subject. We just push it, right? Let me do what I enjoy first, and then I'll do this next time. And then the next time comes, oh, I'm tired, I'm going to go sleep. And then the next thing you realize is the following day you haven't done anything, right? So we love to procrastinate mainly because we don't like the subject. It's too difficult. Keep a planner. It's just like a summary. Just want to get to the end of the presentation here, and then talk about some other techniques that I wrote down and I don't memorize. So one of them was like don't cram, right? If you don't cram, will be good. Spread it out throughout the week in your calendar, like 4 to 5 days. And I want to spend only, and do it in small increments. You're going to do only like, okay, an hour today, 45 minutes tomorrow, an hour after that, an hour and a half after that, and then gradually increase it. Gradually increase it. Don't just all of a sudden, have a lot of time in just one subject there. Okay. If you spread it out, you're more likely to retain it. Okay. Have a goal. So when you're studying, like I said earlier, oh, I finished a homework assignment, so therefore I don't have anything else to do. Right? There's always something to do. One of the suggestions in the email that I received is students are complaining, oh, how do we memorize the formula? What's the good way of remembering formulas? Especially some chapters have a lot of formulas in there, right? Flashcards is usually a good way to go. Now, you're not just writing the formula on the flashcard. It's really good what time of the day you look at those flashcards. Like when you wake up in the morning where you're fresh and you're ready to tackle the hurdles of the day, right? Take 5 to 10 minutes and read through those flashcards. And do it every day, not just once a week. That's not enough. Okay? Every day, for 5 to 10 minutes, read through. Before you go to bed also, read through. It shouldn't be labor intensive. You're just training your eyes to recognize the formula, and also put the flashcards away and then try to see if you can write them out. Don't just read it like you would read a history book. See, a lot of students studying for math, and they're just reading through their notes. You need to hold the pen, write the problem down, and actually try it out. Reading through is not going to help you retain it. You have to actually practice. It's like something magical that happens when you write it. It transfers the information to your brain, and then you retain it better. Okay. Don't procrastinate. We talked about that. Right? Always review your notes before you go into class the next time. Always review your notes. Some students never look back at their notes. When they write their notes, they go home, that's it. Next class meeting, okay, now they open the notebook again, write some more notes, go home. They never go back and look at the notes, and then they want to tackle the homework. What happens if you tackle the homework without looking at your notes? You're going to be lost. The first problem is going to seem impossible, when usually the first problem on homework should be the easiest one. Okay? So that's why we talked about earlier, rewrite your notes so you can go over them, so it forces you to go over them line by line, and in that way you're forcing yourself to go through the steps, and you're writing them yourself again for the second time, and then you go tackle the assignment. It's not going to look as bad. Okay? So acquaint yourself. The environment in which you study is important, right? Make sure there's no distractions, right? When you're at home especially, there could be distractions. TV playing in the background, loud music, maybe family members, you know, going at each other, right? So things like that. Do some of you like to study with a little bit of noise in the background? Some people do. Some people do. I mean, as long as you can control it. But what's important is when you go take a test, is there going to be a little bit of music playing in the background? No. So you want to train your brain to have the same environmental settings as the test. Sometimes they say chew gum while you're studying, let's say mint flavor, and then go take a test and chew the same, gum with mint flavor. It will help your brain remember better. The flow of information will be better. Okay, that's some of the stuff I've heard. Research has shown that. You can try and let me know. Okay, and then again, I go back to my very, very favorite one, which is study group. Now, study group can be sometimes ineffective if they're big enough, right? People start chatting among each other, and then what you can maybe accomplish in 1 hour ends up getting accomplished in 3 hours, right? So you want to be really wise who you choose as your partner to study with. Okay. All right, well, that's, I think, pretty much what I have for you today. Any questions for me? And as I said earlier, positive attitude, stay healthy, eat healthy. If none of that, if you don't have any of that, none of what I just said will happen. I mean, if you get sick, what happens? You fall behind. Right? And if you fall behind in the math class, where you have 2.5 hours worth of information, that's a lot. All of a sudden you feel, there's no way I'm going to catch up, right?
What are your office hours?
Oh, there's a lot of, let's see. On Tuesday, on Monday and Wednesday, maybe I should write on the whiteboard. I have a marker. Is there a marker? On Monday and Wednesday, from 1:30 to 2:30. That's in my office though, which is the LS building. And then on Tuesday, I had an online office hours. So that one is, there's a code to access it. It's like a CCC Confirm. This one is online. I don't know if you're familiar with CCC Confirm. But that's usually reserved for my calculus classes. And then on Thursday, I have one of those as well. But on Thursday in the morning in the library from 11:30 to 12:30, that's library. You know what the tutoring is? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm usually walking around looking for my students and if they have any questions. And then when I come to the STEM Center on Fridays, that's just me volunteering my time, right? So STEM, this one is Fridays. And I'm usually, and I started this about 3 weeks ago. So from 9 usually to noon, and then I leave after that. So this might be the one that would probably be best for you, especially if you don't have any classes on that day. So if you take a class with me, usually I like to make myself as much available as I can. I mean, I have to beg the student to come and see me during office hours because I know some of them are struggling, and the only way to stop that from happening or to turn to a better road is to change their way, their style, their attitude towards college. College is very challenging. There's a lot more responsibilities than high school. You're more like a self-learner, individual learner. Nobody's going to be holding your hand around like in high school, spoon feed you in high school. They do a lot of that. There's not a lot of hand holding in college. You're on your own kind of thing. That's why it's good to work in teams, because then you can support each other emotionally and physically, in all aspects, so you can survive a college lifestyle, and also so it can be enjoyable. Right? You don't want the college lifestyle to be your worst nightmare. So you can turn that around. So I try to do that with my students. But like I said, it took 6 weeks, this is week 6, for one student to finally step forward and say, I need help. And what most of them do is they wait till the end of the semester where there's no hope. And that's when they want to show up to office hours. And there's nothing I can do. I don't have this magic wand that I can just tap you on the head and say, oh, you shall know math now. No, it's hard work. It's hard work. It's laying it all out on here. You have to plan for it. Okay? That's really the secret of it all. All right. Nobody should think they have to be smart to learn math. You don't have to be smart. I wasn't smart. I wasn't always the A straight student. I got C's, I got B's, and I got A's. I struggled in some of the classes. You don't have to be smart to learn math. You just have to put in the right amount of time. And you have to study smarter, not harder. Study smarter. That's really what the magical key is. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, you're welcome to come and talk to me anytime on Fridays when I'm here. Whether it's help on your math or whether it's just want to chit chat. I'm here. Okay.
Professor Ross, what about the other hours that you have available, like the Monday, Wednesday, and the Thursday at the library? Would our FYE students be able to speak with you at any of those times?
I'm usually in my office, and usually I don't get anyone who comes to this office at all.
Okay, so walk-ins or?
Yeah, walk-ins, my door is open during that time. That's right, and my name is out on the door, so you can't miss it. It's in the LS building where all the math faculty reside. So, yeah, open door policy during those 2 days. And then Thursday, I'm walking on the main floor of the library. So you're welcome to come by anytime. Yeah. Absolutely. Bring a friend if you feel too scared. Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that we're hearing from the students is that math already is sometimes one of the more challenging subjects.
Yeah.
And so to go to office hours, that's intimidating. But now we know that that's not the case because Professor Foz is here.
It's not the culture in high school. In high school, do teachers have office hours? I don't think so. And all of a sudden, we expect our high school students to go to office hours? Now, I guess I answer my own question, right? Right? I mean, I was asking you earlier, why are they not coming to office hours? It's a new culture. We have to pull them in, and then once they get used to it, I think the repetition, they'll ease up hopefully, and then they won't be as scared. If
So
you're not
high
scared,
school was scary going to the office because that could only mean usually bad things.
Yeah.
Right? And now it's a great thing.
that's right.
Now it's a great thing to be able to go to office hours. So that's the switch that we need to do in our brain.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you have any good ideas, maybe I'll have free pizza during office hours. Will come. Have the whole campus lined up. Free pizza. Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
Any questions? Any other questions?
Do you just teach calculus 1 and 2?
So far, the last few semesters, it looks like that's what I've been doing. It's like calculus 1 and 2 back and forth. But I have taught some other classes before that, like intermediate algebra, transitional math, calculus 3. There are some classes I've never taught before, like linear algebra, differential equation. So when I grow up, I will teach those classes. When I'm mature enough, I will.
So even if you don't have a class with Professor Foz, who's going to go to his office hours? Okay. Yeah.
Any other questions? Any concerns?
And I know that we asked some of our students today to bring some of the homework that they have questions on. So I know.
I already have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any others? Yes.
Yes,
Do you
sir.
think it would be fine to take linear algebra and differentials at the same time?
Oh, that's a tough question. When I went to school, I didn't. And again, because I wasn't the strongest student, I always liked to take one math class at a time when I was a student because that's all I could handle. Now, I know it's doable. I've seen students do it. Everybody's different, okay? Again, there's no order in which you can take linear algebra and differential equations. They're both going to require a tremendous amount of time. I mean, you're doing double the homework here. You're juggling two things. I hope if you do that, you don't take another hardcore class along with that. So I don't want you to regret down the road and go, oh, I wish I had done this instead, and you can end up dropping one of them because you can't survive. Now, if you don't work and you have a lot of free time, it's doable. That's something you want to look into. But if you think somewhere down the road while you're taking the classes, you're going to get a job and you're going to start working, and that's going to fill up your schedule even more so, then that would be a bad decision. But I've seen a lot of students do that. They would take it and they would be successful in both of them. It's 3 units each, I think.
Yeah.
Right. 3 units each.
Is the subject matter, does it go kind of hand in hand, or is it like just completely different?
They're quite different.
Yeah.
But there is a little bit of overlap. Depending who teaches the course, they might show you what the overlap is. If you take out the university, usually they show you the overlap, but they're different branch of mathematics. Yeah, I haven't taught those classes, but I would love to one of those days. Commend you for being here today.
Yeah.
When you woke up this morning, you had that big decision going, do I sleep in? And do I ditch the meeting or do I come to the workshop, right?
Yeah.
But you